Bad clients are out there, and sometimes it's only until you've gotten halfway through a project with tens and tens of hours spent grinding away that you'll soon start to question if you should have even said yes to begin with. There's a bunch of strategies to spot these sorts of clients before they steal away your precious time and creative energy. So I'm going to start with why clients might take advantage of you, and then I'll share 5 of my essential tips for what you can start doing today to stop clients triggering some of the headaches that they can give you. There's 2 types of clients: those who have the best intentions in wanting to create a harmonious working relationship with you, and those who are generally quite manipulative and not very nice people. Unfortunately, some clients are very much like sharks and want to use weird tactics to try and wrap you around their little fingers. They'll downplay how much work you're doing for them and how appreciative you should be because of the amazing opportunity that they've bestowed upon you. They'll also do things like being unbelievably late to pay you back the money that they owe you, with bizarre excuses as to why this was the case. Luckily, most clients aren't in this nasty category, but you can still work with good intentioned clients who seem to be asking for and pushing for more than was originally expected. This isn't to manipulate you, they're simply just trying to get the most out of you for the money that they're spending to actually have you working with them. You may feel like you're purposefully being taken advantage of when you're actually not. You just didn't do the legwork beforehand to set up boundaries for what was expected from the working relationship with them. It's not a client's job to look out for your best interests and whether the money they're paying you is worth it to you for the amount of work that you're putting in. If you've already said yes to the job, they'll assume it is, or else you would have just said no, right? If 20 hours of editing for $50 is something you've said yes to, and you're an awesome video editor, then that's on you for saying yes to that rate. And if you meet an editor like that, let me know, because I want to hire them too. There may be a point where a client thinks he's getting way more out of you than what he is, so he'll do a pay rise as a show of appreciation for your work. But the reality is that you probably could have gotten this months earlier if only you asked for it. So what can we do to drastically lower the chances of any client undervaluing our skills and treating us with a lack of respect? Try asking a shitload of questions. You need to fully understand the workload and workflow your clients expect from you. What's the timescale to complete each stage of the project? How much communication are they expecting to have with you throughout the process? How many revisions are they expecting? Every client is different and has different experiences working with collaborators, so you need to gauge an idea for how familiar their working practices are to your usual working practices. Crucially, you absolutely need to ask about the results they expect from working with you. If a client has in their head that hiring you is going to bring in an extra $1 million per month into their bank accounts, and you not doing this is proof that you were the wrong guy or gal for the job, you'll disappoint them no matter how good a job you actually do. Unless you actually can bring in $1 million a month. And if that's the case, can I have that guy's number? They don't really want the video or the piece of sick graphic design that you make. They want the results that those things will bring to their business or brand. If you can understand their why, you can better know whether the initial budget they discuss with you even matches the lofty goals they have for this particular project. And if it does, then say yes and make a contract. This doesn't have to be some super complex, like getting your lawyers to sit across a table from their lawyers kind of thing. You just need a document that simply states the things you've agreed upon from the discussions you've had. You can easily find working agreement contracts online, and I think I got the one that I use for video work from a website called Tropic Color, just because it looks a bit more pro than the ones that I stumbled upon and could make myself. If a client is funny about signing a contract before starting the work with you, they're also going to be funny about paying once the work is over. Admittedly, there are some clients I've been working with for so long that I don't even bother with a contract anymore. We've developed such a strong relationship over many projects, and I've experienced them consistently paying on time for so long that it's not necessary for me to keep a contract constantly updated with them. Yes, this could one day bite me in the and if it does, you can all say, haha, told you should have taken your own advice, Adam, you moron. If the idea of a contract is still a bit too daunting for you, just have what you've agreed upon with the client somewhere in writing. An email, a text message, a snotty napkin. Just have it written down somewhere. I screwed this up for a previous film project. I was certain I'd discussed that my rates didn't include color grading after the project had been shot by me. I was so certain of this that I didn't even bother to look for an old email exchange to prove it. But as it turns out, this email didn't actually exist, as we'd agreed on this over the phone. Lucky for me, the client didn't want to sift through all the emails to prove that I was in the wrong and wasn't actually written anywhere. So he just relented and accepted that this was in fact our original verbal agreement. I got pretty lucky in that instance, but it totally could have backfired on me. Speaking of verbal agreements, when you're chatting to a prospective client over Zoom and they finally ask, so how does this all sound to you? You want to make this thing happen and work together? Don't say yes or no while on a call. You might have experienced this before where a client asks for your rate on a video chat and you freeze with the nervousness or give a direct answer before you've even really figured out what they actually want from this collaboration with you. If you haven't looked that much into negotiation skills, I'd highly recommend learning about something called price anchoring. This is when individuals tend to rely heavily on the first piece of information they receive when making judgments or decisions. And in the context of pricing, this means that consumers often use the initial price they encounter as a reference point to access whether subsequent prices are high or low. The problem with telling a client your price early on is that you fully haven't understood what the project scope even is for you to be able to anchor your price appropriately. If a client actually has a budget of $3K and you've given away your low rate of $500 in the first 5 minutes of the call, that's money that could have been in your pocket instead of theirs, and you would have been 10 times more motivated to be doing a job feeling like you're actually getting paid higher or what your rate actually is versus just saying yes to a cheap rate because you thought that's all they could offer you. Not to any business owners out there, if you hire as creatives for more than we expect, we'll work our asses off even more and be extra loyal to you in times when your pocket ain't so full anymore. You can always anchor your price high, then budget down lower if you feel it'd still be worth it to work for a bit of a lower rate with this particular client, or offer a lower price for lower features. For example, if you're a video editor, maybe somebody wants long form edits, but their rate is so low that only doing a few short form edits would make sense versus, sitting trying to cut together a 25-minute long form YouTube video for not that much money. You need time to digest what you've discussed and to ponder any additional questions that might have slipped your mind to give you a better sense of if this project is right for you or not. Give them 24 hours for an answer back. Say you'll take everything into consideration that you've just discussed, and then you'll come back to them with a quote in the next 24 hours. You have absolutely no obligation to give a client a clear yes or no on a call as much as they might try and push for it. You can still give hints about things, for example, a price range that you've worked with before for a similar project with a previous client, or share your enthusiasm for the project that's being pitched to you by, saying things like, oh, this is really good. It'd be cool to work on this. But you don't have to say, that means yes, and here's my signature on a contract. But honestly, all of these negotiation skills, communication skills, they're all gonna be 10 times easier for you if you just already had more clients. Nothing is more powerful for your negotiating skills than genuinely not needing a client. It's the same with dating. If you're sat opposite the first lovely lady that you've matched with on Tinder after 500,000 swipes trying to find one, you ain't gonna be acting like some kind of suave James Bond gentleman. You're going to be doing all kinds of weird nervous tics and things in the hope that she'll like you enough to have a second date. Not me, I've never done that before. A really common pattern creative freelancers get into when they have that first proper success is that they get that release of finally landing a client, so they take their foot off the proverbial gas without reaching out to any more clients now because they finally have some kind of stable income coming in. This isn't a great strategy. You've got to strike while the iron is hot, so to speak. Unfortunately, the sad reality of creative jobs and freelancing is that no job is solid and stable, and the income might just ebb and flow depending on what's going on in the life of a particular client. Searching for clients needs to be a forever action. It's not just something you stop doing once the money stops rolling in. Keep applying even when you're full with your capacity of how many clients you can realistically take on. You can always swap out lower paying clients with newer paying clients or less difficult to work with clients. And if you don't keep actively using your negotiation skills, you're gonna get rusty. Like, this is a skill like anything that just needs to be topped up with experience and different references to keep this negotiation muscle at a decent level. A lack of desperation to land a particular client will only come off as professional, and you'll actually be able to use rationality to figure out which clients are worth saying yes to and which ones are right to pass off to somebody else, because client selection is a form of standing up for your boundaries. Once you're hired, some things a client may ask will skirt along the lines of what you originally agreed upon, but they'll likely not cross that if you've appropriately stated what you expect from them as much as what they expect from you. We want to keep weak weekends free from work so you can just relax and chill, cool. Tell a client that they are not going to be able to expect an answer from you during weekends. Don't want to keep revising feedback after feedback after feedback after feedback that the client is sending with each new draft. Then agree upon a revision limit. And if they want more revisions and more drafts, that is something that is going to come out of their pocket as an extra cost. People respect you for stating boundaries like these. You come across as a professional because you won't just say yes to every command from the client, and you expect to be treated in a way that adapts to the lifestyle you want to have. Boundary setting discussions like these early on are you testing out the working relationship and whether this client is going to be the one to poke around at the seams of the boundaries that you've set up. I don't mind a client poking around a little bit as long as they respect the pushback that I'm going to inevitably give them. I'd recommend having some kind of leeway with your boundaries, within reason, of course, especially if you want to have a good working relationship with your client during the course of a project. If you're too much of a stickler for your boundaries, you'll actually come across as a bit more like a douchebag, that you're not prepared to put in a little bit more effort beyond the initial kind of agreement that was set up. So let's say you're a video editor, me, and a client makes notes for how a text animation is going to look, but then later they realize that they actually don't like the font style that they chose and they'd rather try a different font. This change would take a video editor a couple minutes to swap out. So I might as well just do it to keep my client happy, especially if, this isn't a recurring pattern of them constantly saying one thing and then completely changing their mind again and again and again. Most of the time, you going a little above and beyond, making their lives easier, will build up kind of a goodwill gap of how good you are in relation to the money you're charging for your services, meaning that after a few more projects and with this new sense of security you'll have from working with multiple clients, you can let this client know of your new working rate with a likely answer of, yes, of course I want to keep working with you. You're definitely worth the amount. Something crucial I'm coming to accept more and more as a solopreneur and creative is you have way more leverage than you think. It's incredibly hard for clients to find talented and reliable people. And if you're one of these people and you've built up enough trust with your clients for a period of time, you're in an amazing place. It's way more effort and work for a client to find somebody else than to just pay what you're now pricing your services as. Of course, some clients won't be able to fork out the extra cash, but at that point, as long as you've been keeping up the skills of negotiation, interpersonal relation skills, client acquisition, and of course, your own creative skills in your discipline, you'll already have the confidence to find and work with the clients you actually enjoy collaborating with. This other video on my channel has more super useful insights for the common mistakes you're making when working with clients, so check it out. And hit that subscribe button if you haven't, because if you do, I'm going to recommend you to my good friend, Tommy Wiseau. Oh, you'll love working with him.
Anyway, how is your sex life?
Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.